This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, that's good. Right, so let's get started. Good morning to all of you. So today, as it is the first class, so we'll just look at a few basic things and try to understand how do we try to get into the uh, basics of that, and then basics of Azure, and we'll try to understand how do we set up the lab environments, how do I subscribe myself to the trial subscription, and soon we'll try to understand a little bit on the portal front. Once we get into that, what are the different options we have, and what is the use of what option, right? So that's what we'll cover today, right? So as we said, discussed the other day, this course is entirely on AZ103, which is Azure administration, right? Now, so before we get into the content itself, let us try to understand how do we enable ourselves when it comes to the practicing of the sessions, and how do I subscribe myself to the Azure portal, right? So for that, what we have to do is we have to go and connect to a free subscription, or sign up to a free subscription, right? Now for free subscription, so you will be using a portal called as https://portal.azure.com. So this is the portal which we will be using to log into the what do you call it, as Azure environment. But to go and use a free trial subscription, all you need to do is go and Google it, saying that Azure free trial subscription, right? So you will be straight away taken to the page, the third page. The first two are anyway, and they are the ads, but the third page, what you see here is create Azure free account today, right? So if you click on this, it will ask you to subscribe yourself, right? So you see an option called as start free. That's what you will be selecting to go and subscribe yourself for a free trial subscription. Now, as I said, once you go with a free trial subscription, what is that you are going to get? A free trial subscription will allow you a 30 days free access. 30-day access to the resources. Now, in this 30 days, they will be providing you an amount of 13,300 INR. 13,300 rupees INR. So for these 30 days, I will be spending all these 13,300 rupees, whatever Microsoft provides to me as a part of trial subscription. So what it means is I can use this 13,000 rupees for any resource creation within the Azure. And if 30 days are gone and you haven't spent all that 13,300 rupees, what it means that all those things will get lapsed. Or you spent all that 13,300 rupees in first 10 days, then you will not be able to access the labs, right? So we will be discussing how best we can manage our lab part, but this is how you will go and use your labs. So you will be subscribing yourself to a free subscription, and for this free subscription there are few things that which are needed. One is email address, second thing is your mobile number, and then you need a PAN card, and then you need credit card. So for free trial subscription, all these are needed. Now they won't deduct, they do deduct 1 or 2 rupees initially when you subscribe, but they revert it back. But credit card, there is no billing as such until and unless you change this particular free subscription into pay as you go or any other subscription model. So when you go and use a free subscription, as I said, from this credit card, 2 rupees will be deducted to just validate your card, and then they will be reverted back. So once you are done with the subscription, what you see is 13,300 rupees INR. Now what happens after 30 days? If I completed using all 30 days, and after 30 days, and how do I access the lab? So if you have any of your friends who can help again with these details, because these are all unique to the account, whatever you subscribe, if you use the same thing, then they will catch you, right? So so if you want to go and use another trial subscription, maybe you have to get in touch with one of your friends or colleagues who can help you and create one more account. That is one way of doing it. Or convert your account, convert the subscription to pay as you go. Pay as you go. So when you convert your account into pay as you go, what it means is there will be a monthly bill that which gets generated based on the resources that whatever you use, and then that amount will be deducted from your credit card. Okay, so there will be monthly billing, and that amount, the monthly bill will be credited, will be taken from your credit card. So if you use very intelligently and spend 2 to 3 hours per day, I don't think this will be costing you too much, maybe around 2000 or 1500 per month, depends on how you use the resources. So I'll explain you how best we can use it in our sessions going forward, but these are the options that which you have. So for the class, you will be first going and subscribing yourself for a free trial subscription, and you get 13,300 rupees that you will be using for 30 days. Right? So as I said, this is the portal that which we will be using to subscribe ourselves. Right? So once you click on start free, maybe I'll open that in a private window because I had already logged in. So that's the reason it is taking me to the same page. So let me open Internet Explorer and then get into private mode. Then I'll access it from here. Right, so free trial subscription, right? So you can click on start free. So it will ask you those details that whatever are needed for you to sign up, right? So I'll use, let us say this is my email address. Or I can go and create a new one. So all you need a Hotmail account. I think it's self because I already logged in with this account. It is giving me some trouble, but it's straightforward. Okay, so it's straightforward. I'll be able to give you article that which I had already have, which you can use to kind of go and use it, right? So if you just let me give you that, maybe I'll be able to help you on that. Right, so how do we set up our trial subscription? Right, so this is where we are in, right? So once you click it, it will ask you the email address and password, right? So then you get into this page, right? So where you provide your details like identity and other stuff, and then you will be signing. It's very simple, straightforward. We'll provide your credit card details and other stuff, right? So that's how we will be subscribing ourselves to the trial subscription, right? So I'll give you this link, follow this. It's just an article written by me itself, so you can go and use it, right? So just follow that, you will be able to create your own account. Let us say that you are done with the creation of your account. Then what is the portal that which you will be using to log in? As I said, it is portal.azure.com. So this portal is a single user interface that which you will be managing, that which you will be using to manage the entire Azure environment. Okay, so let me log into this with my subscribed user ID and password. Then you will be taken into the web page like what you are seeing here. Okay, so this web page, when you log in, there are a few things that which we need to understand. Towards your right hand on the top corner, it will show you what are the account details which you use to get into it. So very important thing that which we need to understand is domain. So what you see here is the name, email address, and then directory and the domain. So the domain, when you create an account, it creates a default domain with your email address itself. And how it will be? It will be with email address .onmicrosoft.com. Right here, I am using an email address called as vemula4u@hotmail.com. Right. So what it is taking? It is taking vemula4u hotmail.onmicrosoft.com. That is the domain it creates. Right. So apart from that, you also see the email address directory identifier, right? And then your name. So domain name, we have to change it. No organization want to go and use that subscription name. That we have a concept called as custom domain, which tells how do we change the domain name, that which we will be seeing in our Active Directory concepts class, right? So, but by default, it picks the domain name as your email address .onmicrosoft.com, right? So that's how it will be. Okay, so that is very important. And then the other very important thing is the notifications. So this notification or the bell icon that what you are seeing here will help you to understand what is the status of the resources you are deploying or you deployed, whether it is successful, whether it is failed, if it is failed, what is the error, or whether it is in progress. So any activity that which you initiated, the status of that activity you will be seeing here in the notifications. Okay, so that is another important thing. And then if you want to change the color and the portal of the portal and other stuff, then you can go and do it from here, right? So you can go and select based on your requirement, whatever the customization of the portal itself. And then you see a very important option here, which is called as Cloud Shell. Now, during our yesterday's discussion or Saturday's demo, we said that we can manage things using three ways within the Azure, right? So one is the portal, the other one is Azure CLI, and then you also have something called as PowerShell. Now, all those things are integrated. If you see these things, if you want to use the portal itself to get into the command line interface, of course, you can use it. Or you can also install those command line interface tools on your laptop and connect to the Azure environment. So Azure provides you an inbuilt command line shell or cloud shell, which enables you to use both PowerShell or Cloud Shell, right? PowerShell or Azure CLI, right? So this is how you can go and use it, right? You can switch between Bash, which is Azure CLI, or which can be a PowerShell. Or you can use your local computer PowerShell to connect to the Azure, which we will be seeing tomorrow. How do we do that? But this is another option that which we have, the integrated command line tool within the portal itself. Now, you also have something called as, if you move towards your left side on the portal, you have something called as home and dashboard. So when you click on home, it will give you the featured services, which means that mostly access services like your virtual machines, network related virtual networks, and then firewall rules, and then DNS and other stuff. And these services along with the recently accessed resources which you created and accessed, right? And then subscriptions and some learning tools. These are all very important. Spend some time here. So if you go to this Microsoft Learn, which has got a good number of self-learning tools, right? So if you are interested, if you want to go through the documentation, so this is one of those documentations that which you should be referring, right? So the learning path, hands-on and other stuff. So go and select your role, and then respective learning, what do you call it, as Microsoft Learning will be available for Azure or other products of Microsoft as well, right? So this is very important. And apart from that, you have monitor, which will help you to monitor the entire environment. It's the same thing you see here, right? A monitor, or that is also here, and the cost management and security center. These are all we will be discussing in detail in our session, but this is what your what you call it as home will be, right? And if you want to have your own dashboard, let us say that you have multiple environments. You have production environment, you have pre-prod environment, you have training environment, and so on. And you may want to go and create dashboards for each of them separately, so that it will help you to manage things in a better way. So for that, you can go and create your dashboard and add resources to the dashboard, right? So you can add resources to the dashboard so that it will help you for better management, right? So based on your requirement, you can go and create multiple dashboards from here, right? So once you create the dashboard, you can add these resources to the dashboard, so that you will have a view of what is happening in the environment, right? So you can create a dashboard, as I said, based on your environment or region or location or whatsoever. That is another important thing. Now we had seen home, we had seen dashboard. There is another important option here, which is called as services. Now all services will give you the list of services that which are available within the Azure. If you want to deploy a storage related resource, then you select a storage component from here. Or if you want to deploy a virtual machine, then you have virtual machine option here. Or if you want to deploy a web app or some related components or any other components related to the web, they're all available in the web category. So on database, analytics, blockchain, AI, IoT, and so on. So all services will give you a view of what are the services which are available within the Azure, and they are categorized into different categories. Or if you click on all, then it will show all the services that whatever are available within the Azure, right? So all these are the services available for the customers under different categories, right? So that's what your all services is. Now apart from that, you have favorites, right? So you can add and remove resources to the favorites. If you feel that there are few resources that which you will access very frequently, and you may not want to go to this all services every time and access them, you can add these resources whichever you access so frequently into the favorites. Now how do I do that? You see a star option here, right? A star mark. So when you enable the star, then this particular option is automatically added. You can see this images is added. Similarly, if you want to go and use virtual desktops, Citrix desktops, then you can go and click this one as well. So based on your requirement, you go and select the resources or the services that whatever you want to use frequently and add it to the favorites option, right? So by default, there are few that which will be added. You can add and remove based on your role and requirement, what are the day-to-day activities you do. right? So I have virtual machines because I use it so frequently, right? So all I did is, go here and enable it, right? So a very important thing which will help you for better management. Okay, so this is your favorites. So in favorites, what you see something called as all resources and then resource groups. Let us try to understand resource group first before we try to understand anything in the Azure. Now, what is a resource group? As the name itself says that it helps you to group the resources, right? A resource group will help in grouping the resources. So any resource that which you deploy in Azure need a resource group. Without a resource group, you will not be able to deploy any resource in Azure. Whether you deploy a virtual machine, whether you deploy a storage account, whether you deploy a web service or whatever you deploy on Azure, that needs one mandatory component or entity called as resource group. Now, as I said, it helps you to categorize the things. Categorize the things based on what? It might be based on project, it might be based on geography, it might be based on some XYZ criteria. So before you go and deploy a resource on Azure, so first thing that what you should be doing is you should be creating a resource group. So and you put all these resources that what you deploy onto that category of the resource group where they will fall. For example, I have a project called as SRG, and I can go and put all the resources in the resource group called as SRG. Or let us say that I have a new project that which is getting started, and that project, its name is project A. Then what I am doing is I am creating a resource group with the name called as project A, and I put all the related resources under this project A into this particular resource group. So a resource group is a container that will help you to categorize the things, right? That's what they say it here, right? A container that holds related resource of for an Azure solution, related resource, similar solution, similar resources of a solution. And what is the advantage of having a resource group? Better management, right? You can allocate some policies or some governance around them, and you can manage the entire group of resources easily rather than managing individual resources. That's the advantage you get when you go with a resource group. That's why it is mandatory. So when you create any resource, a resource group is mandatory. Apart from this resource group, you have something called as subscription. Now, what is a subscription? Subscription defines billing. Major use of subscription is for billing. You may want to bill your project to a specific department, or you have multiple projects and you want to bill them separately. Then you can go and create multiple subscriptions project wise or department wise. There should be some way where you can identify that, okay, these are the resources that which are used by project A, and this is the billing for them. Okay guys, this is your bill for your cost center, so please pay this, right? So billing is done using something called as subscription. Now that's where when you create any resource, even a resource group, what it asks you is, boss, what is a subscription? So one Azure account can have multiple subscriptions possible. There might be multiple projects and you may want to build them separately. That's the reason you may have multiple subscriptions. So if you have multiple subscriptions, all of them will be listed here. Since you have only one subscription, which is pay as you go, you will be able to see only one. But if you have a requirement You can go and create additional subscriptions, which we will be seeing in our subsequent classes. But subscription for this class, what you need to understand is it helps you for billing. Right? You can see it, all resources in the subscriptions are built together. So this resource group will be built to a subscription called as pay as you go. And then a resource group will also be part of a region. Where do you want to put this particular resource group? Let us say that I want to put this in a central US. Then what it is doing is it goes and creates this entity or the schema of this particular resource group in a region called as central US. So the question then arises, if I put resources in a resource group, let us say that I am creating a virtual machine. And that virtual machine, during the creation, I say that, okay, you go and sit in a resource group called as project A. The question is, can that virtual machine be in a different region than what it is, what this resource group is, or it has to be part of the same region where resource group resides? So the resources part of this resource group can be part of different regions as well, not necessarily the central US. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you create a resource group can contain resources from a different region, not necessarily where this resource group is residing or the schema of this resource group is residing. Okay, so before you create any resource, the first thing that what you should be doing is you go and create a resource group. That is very important. If you already have a resource group, use them. If you don't have a resource group of that category, go and create it. Right? That's what it is. And then you have tags. Tags again will be used for categorization. Specifically when you want to generate some bills onto a specific category. For example, you have a project A. In that project A, you have multiple categories of resources. Let us say that you have UAT resources, you have prod resources, you have DevOps resources or development resources or whatsoever. So you can categorize those things using tags. And then when you want to generate bill, you can select only, okay, so I want to know how much I'm spending for dev test environment. So you go and put a name and value here, then you will be able to run a filter, will be able to extract the billing from them. So for this class, we just need to understand what is tag, but there is a one complete session on subscriptions and then tags and other stuff. There we'll understand how many tags we can create, how do we generate report using tags and other stuff. But this is an initial class, so you just need to understand you can use tags to organize things. That is also a logical entity, right? So any resource that which you create on Azure, so once you feed that information, it will take you to the review and create option or blade. We call these as blades. Then it validates whether the information provided is correct or not. If yes, then it will allow you to create the resource. Right? It will allow you to create the resource. So as I said, any resource that which you deploy, the status of that resource, whether it is deployed successfully, whether it is failed, whether it is in progress, all those things you can see here in the notification. Now what you see in the notifications, creation of the resource group project A in the subscription pay as you go is succeeded. And you can go directly to that resource from here. Of course, if you want, you can pin this to the dashboard. So if you pin this to the dashboard, then it will, whenever you go to the dashboard, this particular resource will be visible there. Or you can go directly to the resource group. So in order to see what are the resource groups that which you have, within the favorites, you have an option called as resource groups. Or you can go and search for the resource groups from here as well, from the search option. You can find all the services with that name. Or you can also directly search the resource group that which you created from here, right? So let us say project A. You'll see project A here. So it is taking some time, but to refresh it may take some time, but it should be visible from here as well. Okay, so let me go and search again. Okay, so it may take some time to come there, but you can also see that resources directly from there, right? So individual resource can be searched from here. A services can also be searched from here, right? You can see the recent one is visible here, or you can also search from here, right? So this search is not only for searching the services that what you have within the Azure, but you can also search the resources that which you created. For example, you may want to deploy a virtual machine. Then you will see all the resources with that name called as virtual, whatever you put for the first three letters, right? Likewise, you can go and search the service or search the resources that which you created. Okay. Now let us get into the resource group that which we created. This is the resource group that which we created just now, right? Which is project A, right? And this resource group, whatever the information that which you provided during the creation is visible in the overview, right? So a subscription ID, and you can also see the location where exactly it is located and so on, right? So every subscription will have a subscription ID. If you are using some code, if you are using some CLI interface, or if you are using JSON code or whatsoever, you will be using the subscription ID to authenticate yourself. That which we will be seeing in our subsequent classes, but we need to understand that. A resource group also has got activity log, which tells what are the changes that which are done to this resource group, which means that if somebody did some changes to this, all of them will be recorded here along with the timestamp and then who did that particular activity, right? So that is the activity log. And then you have IAM, identity and access management. Identity and access management in any resource, most of these resources will have all these options, whatever we are discussing right now. That will help you to go and control the access to this entity. Who should have what access? A person, a specific group might need a read-only access, or somebody might need an L4 access, or a group of L4 admins need a full access to the environment itself, or somebody who joined newly into the organization might just need a read-only access. So at resource group level also you can go and set up this IAM, which is nothing but role-based access control, right? We call it as RBAC, role-based access control. So based on your role, you will go and define the access that whatever is needed for the specific group or specific person. And this can be done at different levels, but at resource group level also you can go and set up a identity and access management based on the roles. Okay. So the other things that what we should be aware is, if you go to the overview, if you have a resources that whatever are there as a part of this resource group, they will be visible here, right? They will be visible here, name of the resource, type and location. Let us say that you deploy a web service in this particular resource group, it is listed here. Or let us say that you deployed what you call it as a virtual machine, that it will be available here. So the resources that whatever are part that which you deployed will be available under these resource groups. All of them here what you see are resource groups, right? So I'm just looking if we can show some resources in one of the resource groups, just trying to see if we have something. I don't think we have. Let me go to all resources and then I will be able to see if I have it. Yeah, you can see under this resource group SRG, I have 2 resources. And they are for recovery services world, which we created for disaster recovery demonstration the other day. Right? So likewise, if you have a category of resources of a specific project, then you will go and put them under the resource group, under this resource group. So any resource that which you create, resource group is mandatory. So if let me say that if I am creating a virtual machine, then it will ask you select the resource group. Let us say that if I am creating a storage account, right? So it will ask me must provide the resource group name, right? You can see a resource group. So all the resources that whatever you create within the Azure should be part of a resource group. Can one resource be part of multiple resource groups? No, you cannot. So a resource group can hold entity within itself, and that resource or an entity cannot be part of another resource group. So what I'm trying to say here is, if this resource demo vault is part of resource group called as SRG, but it cannot be part of any other resource group. Can I move the resources from one resource group to the other? Yes, you can move. You will be able to move the resources from one resource group to the other resource group. That which we will be seeing tomorrow. So what we need to understand is a resource can be part of only one resource group, and the resources within the resource groups can be moved across different resource groups, right? Very important. So let us try to understand little bit now about subscription, right? Subscription. Now, as I said, subscription will help you with billing, right? Subscription will help you with billing. So how do I access or go to the option of subscription or the service called as subscription? I'll go and type here called as subscriptions in the search bar. Then it will give me that service called as subscriptions. If I go into the subscription, what I am seeing here is a name of the subscription, and then subscription ID, a unique identifier. What is my role here? Account admin. And then what is the cost so far for the resources that which I used. So you can have multiple subscription. As I said, you can go and add one more subscription based on your requirement. Let us say that I have a project A. For project A, I may want to have a separate subscription. I want to bill it separately. Then I can go and create a separate subscription for that. There are different types of subscriptions, right? You can see it pay as you go, developer support, professional, standard, and Azure Open, which we will be discussing in our subsequent classes. But what we need to understand here is you can have multiple subscriptions. If you go into the subscription itself, I click on this pay as you go, which is the name of my subscription. Then it will give me the details about the last billing, recent charges, and how much is cost of what, and so on. Right? So a very high level overview of the things that whatever you are spending. And if you see it, this is how I am spending, right? So from the start of this month, it has gone increasingly. Now what it does is it will give you the forecast. But if you go and spend in the same what you call it as way that what you are spending now, then you will be end up by the end of this month with 2,700 rupees as charge. So pay as you go is a subscription within which you are, and this subscription will help you to generate the bill, to pay the bill, and to understand what and how much you used. Right? And then you see invoices, right? So billing invoices, I can go and look at what is the amount that which I paid from the last few months, right? So if you look at I paid, this is the amount. So a subscription will help you to go and what do you call it as check the budget, set up the budget and look at the cost analysis and other stuff, right? So if you look at the cost analysis, it will give you where I used how much, right? You can see a very good pictorial way. Service name I used for virtual machines 460 rupees, or you can also divide them based on resource group, right? You can see resource group name, right? So you are seeing for this resource group called as SRG, I spent around 1400 rupees. And project A, which I used earlier, I think this was there even before, which we deleted the other day. I used somewhere around 9 rupees. So in this subscription, that what you will see is the billing, the invoices, the analysis when it comes to the cost. You can filter this and look at in a more granular level, and then you can restrict the budget as well. When we say restriction of the budget, it won't stop you creating the resources, but it will notify you saying that, okay, boss, you reached the threshold that what you set. Here is the alert. So they will send an alert, but they won't stop creation of the resources. If I say that I said, okay, the budget I want to restrict at 5,000 rupees, and let us say that I reached the 5,000 rupees mark, and then I'm creating one more resource. What it does, it sends a notification. We'll set some alerts and other stuff. By if you click add, it will take you to the alert setting and other stuff, but it won't stop the creation of the resources. Okay, so subscription we'll discuss once again, but for today's session this is needed. Okay, so you can add multiple subscriptions as well. So one account can have multiple subscriptions. Okay guys, so the reason why I'm explaining the subscription is we will be using that option in every resource that what we create. Okay, so the mandatory things whenever you create a resource, one is resource group, second one is subscription, and third one is location, right? So location, we had seen this the other day, right? Azure infrastructure regions, right? So these are the different regions you have, right? So if you go into these locations, right? These are the different regions. So you will be deploying resource in one of these regions, right? Either Central US, East US, or East US 2, or if it is Europe, these are the regions, and if it is Asia Pacific and government and so on. So during the creation, you will select the region. So based on where you want to host your applications or resources, you will select this region. Okay, so that is another mandatory thing that which you go and set up. Okay, so what we will do is we'll stop today here. So I think we have few more folks to join who are not available. So we'll catch up tomorrow. I think today it's just 30 minutes, I know. So tomorrow when we start, we'll go and look at with our first lab session on virtual machines and try to understand what and how do we create virtual machines, what are the different options we have, and what are these different tabs you see here, and what is the importance of what tab and other stuff. So tomorrow we'll be starting with virtual machines creation. So that will be our second session. Okay, so if you have any questions related to the course or what we discussed related to the lab, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Any questions or anything can be asked. Tomorrow it will be one complete day on virtual machine creations, and day after tomorrow we understand each and every setting within the virtual machine creation. So once you create it, so it will help you to troubleshoot things, right? So it's better to know all the options and how do we troubleshoot things and other stuff. That's where we'll discuss. Entire day after tomorrow we'll discuss troubleshooting and understanding different options. Tomorrow we'll see how do we create virtual machines that will help you to manage the entire infrastructure
Hi,
later today.
hi Vijay, this is Sandeep. I have one question.
Yes, Sandeep.
By creating virtual machines through only GUI or for PowerShell?
Okay, so we will do both way. First, we will try to do things using GUI. Then you will know, right? So when you create virtual machines using GUI, then you will understand what are the inputs that which you are feeding here, right? And under what what input, like for example, region. So what are the inputs that can be given, right? So once we go with the GUI creation, then for after 2 or 3 classes, then we'll see the same machines creation using PowerShell and Azure CLI, and we'll also see how do we deploy using JSON template as well, right? So that we will be seeing. But initially,
Okay,
to enable ourselves or to equip ourselves with these options and what are the different options you have, that will help you to use your commands easily, right? So when you relate this thing with that, right? So that's how we will be managing things, or we will be teaching that way. Okay. So, but yes, PowerShell way of creating the VMs will be there.
okay. Thank you, Vijay.
Any other questions, guys? Okay, so if no questions, what we'll do is we'll catch up tomorrow at the same time. So we'll start with the first full-fledged lab on virtual machines. And before virtual machines creation, we'll try to understand what are the different types of virtual machines we have, what are the operating systems we can deploy, how do I select the size of a specific virtual machines, what are the different sizes available, how can I categorize them based on my requirement, and all those things will be discussed tomorrow. Okay, so very interesting one. So join us tomorrow and we'll continue with the further discussions. Okay, thanks for joining, and I wish you have a great day ahead, and then bye for now.
Thank you. Same to you.
Bye guys.